And now, our feature presentation.
It's recording?
It's blinking red.
Oh, that means red means recording.
Red means recording.
All right, welcome back to Heavy Shell TV. I am your host, Omnia Sol, and today we are joined by musician, artist. Do you have any other taglines you would give yourself? Yeah, superlatives.
DJ, organizer, label head.
Yeah, wait, what head? Label
head?
Totally.
Yeah, I think any or all.
Yeah, Aaron Vino Sai.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a treat to hang out and talk art with you.
Absolutely. Welcome to the show. So you've got a lot going on. We first met each other during Heavensware. No, we met at a Bit by Bit show you organized that Taylor was VJing at.
Yes, that's correct.
So I talked to you at that show and had mentioned how I do visuals, and so if you ever have any open spots for VJs, let me know. And you were the first person who ever booked me, which is really cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. As far as doing, I had the YouTube show, and I had done occasional live streams, and then I had done one show that Deirdre put together, which was the first time I had met Deirdre IRL, and that I was doing the music and the video for. But as far as DJing for other DJs and musicians, yeah, it was through you.
It always kind of blows my mind because you're not the first person who's told me that.
Yeah.
Is I didn't have a way into this, and then I played a Bit by Bit, or I did a Heavensware, which is always crazy to me because when I book these people for these shows, I'm never booking anyone as well, here's your shot. I'm just whoa, your art is really cool. I've got this thing that I do, back pre-pandemic, it was every other month. For many years, it was bi-monthly from 2017, so you really build up a roster of not only cool artists who just you're around, but you make a lot of friends too. And then I think if I recall, I had you on for doing some of the poolside visuals as well, right?
I don't think so. I feel like poolside might have ended beforehand. I did Bit by Bit, and then I did Heavensware.
Okay.
I've done a couple Bit by Bit, unless you did a poolside mixed in with Bit by Bit. But poolside was the streaming one, right?
Yeah, poolside was the show we did during the pandemic. I don't remember. I thought for some reason you were on a poolside, because that was also just hitting up every VJ I knew and trying to just keep us all busy and making fun art during the big fungus.
Well, because I think we met when things had started to open up more. Yeah. Because it was at a show at Dad's.
Yeah.
So you, on top of making your own music, you've got your label NFC Records, and you're doing a whole kind of, would you call it a rebrand?
I would say it's a rebrand.
Okay.
So so NFC Records actually started early 2020, poor timing, and it was gonna be a home for this movement that I saw as, I don't want to say post chiptune, but it was definitely coming out of that scene where chiptune was for those of you who aren't familiar, chiptune is making new music by repurposing old video game devices. So Game Boys are really popular, the Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Genesis, and I was starting to see kind of, as the hardware got older and older, people shifting to modular, to more electribes, things that felt more in line with the larger electronic music world. And so that was kind of the impetus behind NFC Records, was to kind of curate that sort of hardware music. But what I found was that a lot of the hardware music that people around me were into was a little more gear focused in a way, and I found that that there was a whole side to this, around like techno and house music that I was just like not especially familiar with coming out of like capital R rave scenes, like a lot of happy hardcore, a lot of jungle drum and bass, that type of stuff. I didn't really have a lot of the context for everything else that was happening in the world of hardware music. And so that was kind of one of the things that led to the label kind of faltering, was not being able to find music that I really connected with, but also having a hard time bullying the people that I did find into releasing full-length albums, because so much of live hardware music for a lot of people is the improvisational aspect of it. The fact that you can just kind of take 4 seconds and make a beat and make like a techno bass line and really have something groovy, but they're not like tracked out. They're kind of this really free form thing, which is wonderful, and I really love those events, but that does make it very hard to put out albums of music or convince other people that it's worth them spending the time to edit these live performances down into albums. So for a while, NFC Records was just, I laughably call it a shell company for Heavensware, which still is very hardware focused. And while we gravitate towards acid and techno, I always try to find stuff that's a little more out there, whether that's more ambient or drum and bass or, anything that really sticks out. And then of that mentality, I thought that it would be a good time to rework the label and just focus on putting out as much music for free as possible.
Totally.
And to have that same mentality of, I say bullying, but yeah, hitting up people and being like, do you have music? Do you want to put this out? Do you want to put it out now? And I think that, I hope, will give people the kick in the boots to finish projects, because I know for myself, a lot of the music gets finished for a show.
Yeah.
Versus like, well, here's a date that I've picked, and I'm, stuff doesn't get finished until you have a deadline.
Yeah.
So either you got to make the announcement, or you have someone else who's going to be like, all right, where's my music? And so that's what I'm doing, and I actually have stuff lined up all the way into next year for NFC Records. A lot of great artists, folks who have been around the city that you've seen at shows, and some people who have not played shows in a while, some old friends from college, but all people who really love their practice and I have some sort of personal history with. I think near field connections, I want to be about this interpersonal thing, and as the internet becomes a less reliable way to meet and talk to people, I think that really focusing on people that I get along with and have a shared musical identity with is going to be the most key factor to releasing good music consistently. And also hopefully encouraging people to release music as well. There's some artists on the label I know, they've said to me they've only played shows I've done. And so it's like, all right, now you really, all right, put that stuff out. If you're saying you've only played it at shows I've put on, then I'm gonna be the one to make you release that. So that's really exciting to me, and I don't want to say more than that because there's gonna be a lot of announcements soon. But it's really exciting. Genuinely, I'm excited for the new stuff coming out on the label in a way that I haven't been, maybe even when it launched.
Totally.
And it's really cool. I'm really excited for everyone to hear what I'm gonna be, who's coming out, who's on it,
Yeah. When you talked about NFC originally being like a shell company for Heavensware, what the viewers of like CanTV, how do you describe Heavensware?
Heavensware is a audiovisual event focused on music hardware. So that's drum machines, synthesizers, modular, and the real idea of the show is to genuinely encourage people to come up to the tables and train spot the gear. Oh, you're using that. Oh, you're using this. Oh, I haven't seen that piece of gear in so long. What do you have in your modular rig? What do you have here? You know, there's so many people who are putting out bespoke gear or homebrewing things, and that's always been something I've really enjoyed about hardware, is going up and looking at everyone's setups, however compact or non-compact it is. And so so that's Heavensware is these hardware shows, and as you can hear, that's kind of a spin-off of the label, which is also hardware focused, but it's just hard to make the transition sometimes. It's not always as straightforward as just releasing music from the people who play your shows. So with the rebrand, I'm hoping to do that. I'm also hoping to... I felt like the label had such like this weird clinical feel to it that I didn't like. I didn't like this. You're good. I didn't like how weirdly sterile the label felt, and so I kind of want to make more stuff that is loud and obnoxious and weirdly designed and looks unique, you know. So I mean, that's why I wanted to do that orange color, because some displays have a hard time showing that orange, so I really liked that, but for the next season it's going to be kind of a different vibe.
Totally. And you also have an album that you've been working on, right? Mm-hmm, another solo album? Yeah,
I have another solo album. So this is going to be my first one since, so Paradise came out in 2023, and then I did the deluxe re-release last year, and a lot of the stuff that I'd been playing live, I've kind of just been keeping in my back pocket. So like the first songs from this album were probably written early spring of 2024, maybe May 2024.
Okay.
But and so there's a lot of those in the album, and then the rest of them were written earlier this year. So it really has been like a through line of what I've been working on through the last 2 years since my last big album. But it's also, and because of that, I think there's a lot of songs that represent specific shows or specific moments from those last few years, plus my own new stuff that hasn't been played out live that I've been saving for the album. But it's been a really deliberate production style shift. I mean, it's still rave music, it's still happy hardcore, but I'm doing a lot more vocal samples. I'm doing a lot more with multiple production styles on one album. So it's going to be a mix of DAW stuff and hardware stuff, and I'm messing with vocal synthesis, and there's guitar on some tracks. So it really is trying to like hodgepodge together all of my influences and experiences and show like the through line of live shows, because I think for you as well, I think that a lot of these big pieces that we have, right? You look at a body of work and you have kind of things in the middle, but I think maybe you're the same way. You can almost like pinboard it between big shows or big works, right? And so and you have these special pieces that are done for those, but sometimes in the moment they're released, or you prepped something for a video gig and you perform it, and that's it, right? You put in a month of work for a 6-hour thing. Right. And it's that with music even more so. If you write a 2-minute song that gets played once every few months, you don't really have a good place to put it. And so with this album, it's kind of me being like, all right, what's the best unreleased stuff I've been just sitting on and playing out and but like shh. And it's gonna be a lot of that. So
improvisation is so like important to my practice, and also just like cutting and pasting and being able to like, what I found too is like some of my best work in the future has come from, I had a really good live stream, and you know, when I'm sending to Twitch or whatever is the actual stream, but then I'll be like recording it on a better camera and like recording the audio on like a Zoom recorder if I have one, and taking those later and cutting those up and then making something out of it, where it's like very much like one thing I love about Heavensware and like your hardware stuff is there is something that's very much, there is the, obviously you can have like your tracks all laid out, but there is a lot of like improvisation, especially with playing live and like watching how the crowd is responding and going off of that.
Yeah, I think that the thing that's really appealing about electronic music to me is that you have a lot of flexibility with how you approach it. And because you have a lot of flexibility, you don't have to stick to a set list.
Yeah.
And so I think that's true for my work as well. I really do treat I envision it as a almost like a DJ set, but instead of songs, there are things you kind of got to puzzle piece together yourself. They're a little more abstract.
Totally.
So you can go into something and then you can kind of, you know, if you bring something in and then you just use that little bit to transition and then you bring it back later, that's totally something you can do, and you really can play around with the pieces you do yourself.
Yeah.
on that note of like working off your own work, I think there's a lot of stuff specifically on this album that is really evocative of specific other older works of mine. And that's something I've been, it kind of was accidental, and then it kind of became a core point of the record to almost take like what, like the, how do I put this? I think we're in a weird spot now with media and the world where we're seeing like the snake eat its own tail. Mm-hmm. And working on this record, I've also started to feel the snake eat its own tail with my own art, but I've trying to like embrace that. Like, what does it mean if I'm looking back at my old work and still finding new ideas from it? Or in a more literal sense, how many times can I rewrite the same song to make a new version of it to match where my current production is at? And what does it mean to hold on to a melody for years and years and years and keep reusing it? And that's very common in, you look at dance music, especially of the early 2000s, people were stealing whole vocal lines, melodies between songs. Eurodance comes to mind, trance music comes to mind, where a lot of these songs have the same name and the same melody by all these different artists, and it just evolved because, hey, those 5 notes, those are some dang good notes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is cool to keep using, but it's also cool to reflect on like why are the things in your toolkit that are in your toolkit, and how do you use them as well as evolving them?
And it's similar, I think, with like all electronic music, but like jungle and breakcore, where it's like we're all using the same break beats, but everyone is using them differently and like chopping them up in different ways.
And I definitely have my breaks I go back to. I really, for this record, I not only seeked out new breaks and new drums from some really weird sources. I put out a single recently that samples a children's drum machine called the Beat Blender, and it has a line out. So I was like, well, and they're crunchy, but I'm like, no one's. I guarantee no one's used this one before. And in that same context, I'm trying to take like old, like really commonly used like rave vocal stabs and stuff that's been like played to dirt and then just like scrambling it, or just using it literally and being like, yep, there it is. There's that sound, right? You know it, you love it. You gotta love it. You don't have a choice. You know? So there's a lot of like vocal stuff and like vocal chops in this record that have just never made an appearance really before. And that's I think gonna be the freshest part of it, in my opinion.
Totally.